Alrighty, one more for the road. Still sticking with the Nin plan. And this time I'm up against Gishath, Sun's avatar. Giant Naya dinosaur that is pretty cool and certainly deadly, but unfortunately it's competing in the same spot as something like Maelstrom Wanderer, which is in better colors. And even though it's got a lot of crazy abilities and can certainly kill you very quickly if it gets running, it is 8 mana and in colors that can't really interact or push things through very well. So that said, it's certainly a casual commander, although it can do pretty cool stuff, especially in group games. And I'm playing the oppressive non-budget Nin deck, so this guy's going to have a rough time. But looking at my hand, actually, it's kind of interesting. This is very much a borderline keepable hand in that it's got a number of uncastable or practically useless cards, including a Dak Faden I can't play, an Opal that I can't turn on, and a Karn Liberated I certainly can't cast for ages. But I do have a counterspell, and I have 2 islands. And if I'm able to draw into red mana, then this hand becomes amazing because I can either play a Dak and steal something of his to turn on the Opal, or I can play Dak and cycle past Karn and the Opal to get stuff that's meaningful. So with that in mind, I figure this hand's a little better than an average hand, and I'm going to keep it, especially going first. So here we go. Play an island. Just hoping he doesn't have a degenerate mana artifact early before I'm able to steal it, as I need to draw some red mana, and he just says go. Alright. Nice. Copy artifact. That's excellent. That's just further insurance against something gross that he might do, plus it gets me a step closer to turning on Mox Opal, provided that there's a non-Mox Opal target. Because remember, this card's legendary, so you can't copy it. Alright, and I've got my counterspell to buy some time. So we head back to Banevolent. Yeah, Banevolent Star's turn. Let's go interface. Okay, so he plays a forest. And then he casts Mana Crypt, which is very funny because I was just talking about Degenerate Mana Artifact, and there's one right there. And normally, of course, this would be a snap counter. You normally don't even hesitate to counter it. But with this card on the stack, and the longer I looked at it, the more I realized, man, that card is actually perfect for me, because not only do I have a Reliquary Tower and the ability to copy artifact it, that does surrender my counterspell position for a turn, but it gives me 2 artifacts with the Mox Opal, as well as ramping my mana towards Karn Liberated. And if I do draw a red mana source here, I will be able to copy it and cast Dak Faden to steal his Mana Crypt, which would be absolutely disgusting, and then play my Mox Opal, and I'd be miles ahead. So with that in mind, I reluctantly decide to let it go, figuring I can just counterspell whatever else he might cast. And sure enough, he's got Cultivate behind it, and this I definitely have to counter, because I can interact with his artifacts, but not with his extra lands. And I don't even know if he has red mana right now, but I can at least prevent him from potentially having it by countering the Cultivate. So heading on to the next turn, let's see what the deck yields. Come on, red mana. I deserve it for the ultimate punish. Condescend. Well, it's not the worst card in the world, honestly. It's a counterspell I can cast quite easily, and more importantly, it's going to allow me to scry to get me closer to red mana when it does show up. So I'm, of course, going to just copy artifact on his Mana Crypt. Yoink. And borrow that so that we're a little bit equal. Never had a Masterpiece Mana Crypt in play. I wonder what the difference in cost is between the regular one and the Masterpiece one online. It's kind of interesting that in real life, the regular Mana Crypt is so expensive that I don't think the Masterpiece one is really worth much more at all. Alright, so he taps for a green, he plays Gruul Turf. Okay, well, that's interesting. So I'm really hoping he just completely taps out this turn and runs something into my Condescend and allows me to dig. So that would be ideal. Let's see what he plays. And he plays Deathgorge Scavenger, which normally I wouldn't really care about too much. Even though it does eat cards out of my graveyard, it doesn't really give him a benefit other than a little bit of extra damage. And, yeah, not too threatening. However, I really, really want to Condescend right here in order to dig 2, potentially 3 cards down over the next draw step. So I'm going to decide to Condescend. Let's see what we get. Come on, deck. I believe. All right, well, there's a Cryptic Command I can't play, but right on top of that is Expedition Map. And when I look at this and look at my hand and realize what I have, this is insane, this sequencing that's coming up here. All right, I'm going to be careful. This is the second time I recorded this replay. The last time I accidentally pressed this button when the UI resized and it just jumped past everything, which is very anticlimactic, so I'm going to be careful to avoid that. All right, goes back to my turn. Flip for the Crypt. Win. All right, so I'll give you a minute here to figure out the sequencing. What's the maximum way you can utterly own this guy. All right, I'm going to give you a few more seconds to figure it out. Yeah, but there is a way to just utterly crush this guy completely. Yeah, here we go. So, first step, tap Crypt, play Expedition Map. 1 mana floating, play Mox Opal. Now I have Metalcraft. Tap the Opal for red, tap an island, play Dak Faden, snag his Mana Crypt. Now I still have the ability to use the Opal, and I still have 2 mana available. Sack Expedition Map, fetch Strip Mine. Kill Gruul Turf. So he went from having Gruul Turf and a land in play and a Mana Crypt. So he had 5 mana in play, and I only had 3. I'm sorry, I had 5. To me, having 5, 6, 7, 8 mana in play and a Dak Faden, and him losing 4 mana over 1 turn. And of course, the last card in my hand is this insane Karn Liberated, which I'm going to play into a board with only 2 lands in play. And not even seeing the Karn Liberated. Poor Mr. Banevolent Star wisely packs it in and takes his dinos to play somewhere else. But anyway, this wasn't a particularly close game, and I didn't expect that it would be. But I thought you guys would get a kick out of seeing that, just how utterly grotesque you can sometimes get with Dak Faden and Theft and copying and stuff in the early game. All courtesy of my opponent's Masterpiece Mana Crypt. Hopefully got some more games for you guys to come. If you have a particular deck you'd like to see me play, go ahead and post it in the comments, and I will continue to get more games in. Take care.